This week's Piltch Point with Avram Piltch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to pilchpoint.live/PureVPN. I find it fascinating that after all these years, with the new song, it is now me that jams out to the opening music during the transition.
I feel very pensive today. I feel very pensive about our topic.
And our
because
robot
it's
overlords.
a topic I have very strong feelings about. As anyone who's read anything I've written the last year or has listened to this show knows, I'm very concerned about the use of AI as an arbiter of the truth, copying, plagiarizing information from journalists and from other reputable sources, and then presenting it ex cathedra on behalf of the AI vendor, particularly Google. So we talked many times about Google Search Generative Experience, otherwise known as Google SGE. And it had been in beta for about a year or so. And throughout the time it was in beta, it was still terrible. But, we could take solace in the fact that most people on the internet don't join betas. I do, but, most people don't. This past week, Google had its I/O convention, got up on the stage and announced, good news, we're rolling out AI overviews to everyone in the United States. It's out of beta. Now, the AI overview is what they now call Google SGE, so it's the same thing. And what does that look like? Well, as a quick reminder, let me share my screen and show you it. So, oops, I always hit the camera thing. Okay, so over here I have a search view, and as you probably know, I don't think that using people's data as training data without consent is fair use. But I asked Google, is training data fair use? And it gave me this AI overview that says, quite authoritatively, according to U.S. copyright law, training AI models is using publicly available internet materials is generally considered fair use. This is because the AI uses the copyrighted work to create something new rather than copying it. All right, so here, this is like a laundry list of things that a pro AI as fair use people would say, and but however, OpenAI is currently being sued by a number of parties. Oh, those terrible parties! How dare they? Well, let's see where they plagiarized this idea from. You can see their featured snippet often matches what the overview says, and the feature snippet says OpenAI has responded that training AI models using publicly available internet models is fair use. So they are presenting the opinion of one very interested group as a fact, right? According to U.S. copyright law, that sounds like a fact. According to this law, it's a fact. The objective way of talking about this would be to say, well, some people, industry people say that it is fair use, and there's a lot of people who say that it's not fair use, and it's still being litigated in court. That would be the down the middle way to answer this question. But it didn't answer it in a down the middle way. It answered it in a way that's misleading because it makes it sound like an objective truth here. And a lot of people will see that Google gave them an answer, and they'll say, oh, Google must know. I trust Google. I've been using Google for 20 years. I trust Google, right? Google must give me the right answer. It doesn't say it could be wrong, by the way. It just says here, generative AI is experimental. So it gives you wrong answers. And it also, can give you things that are contradictory. Now, unfortunately, it's not always, if I do a few now, they may or may not give me an AI overview, and they may or may not give me an answer that's correct, right? So so let's try one, but we can't say for sure that give me a question that you think is likely to result in a factual claim, Scott.
Hardware questions are usually pretty good. Best video card for Fortnite or something like that. Those types of things usually.
It's so what I have found is lately is there it usually will not give me an AI answer for that. Let's see.
Okay.
So it didn't,
Yep.
but I can, in some cases, it doesn't automatically and you can hit generate. So let's see if it gives me that. Sometimes you generate and it still won't do it. So let's see what it says. According to logical increments, at least it's citing somebody, but for epic settings at 1440, they recommend at least a 6650. I mean, this isn't a terrible answer. Right?
Yeah,
This
it's
isn't
not
a terrible answer, but it does take up all my screen, so that's not great. But in this case, I kind of asked for it because I clicked on it. But some other things, maybe not. So I've seen screenshots of people who asked how to prevent kidney stones or how to cure kidney stones in 24 hours, and they were told to drink their own urine. Now let's see. Now this may or it's random, right? So you may get a good answer or not. Doctors recommend drinking enough fluids to pass. There, we got it. You see this?
Yeah.
Doctors recommend drinking enough urine to pass about 2 point. Oh, no, to pass. Oh, drinking enough water to pass urine. Okay. Some of them actually said to drink urine.
That seems like a terrible idea.
Some people have gotten that as an answer, right? It's medical advice, right? So they can give you advice that's bad. Or like during Google's demo, they showed an example where they asked how to get film that's stuck in your camera, how to fix film being stuck in your camera. And it said to open the camera and pull the film out. Right?
Yeah, which is obviously rule number 1 not to do.
Right. So, it's things like that it gets wrong. And then even in things where it's controversial, like some people believe that it's fair use and some people do not believe it's fair use, it's going to give you an opinion and present it as a fact. So a lot of people, including me, don't like this. And they don't like it appearing on top of their search results. Now, the good news is if you're sitting at home and you're trying this and you're not getting these AI overviews all the time, they're not putting it on every page. It seems to be somewhat random, and there's a lot of things that aren't showing it. Why aren't they showing it on every page right now? I think there's some actual ways in which this is not 100% in Google's self-interest. For one, it's not an ad, so it's pushing ads down the page. For two, I believe that this uses a significant amount more electricity and compute power than regular search results or even the featured snippet box, right? So it's not necessarily right now doing great things for Google economically, except that it's part of their, I guess, strategy to switch from being a search engine to being a arbiter of truth and a publisher, which I don't think that they should be. I don't think people should trust something that's been spit out by a bot, even if it looks correct. Like people need to be, um, informed consumers of information. They need to question where the information comes from matters. Sometimes they will give you sources there, but that doesn't mean that these sources are great. And you still have to go and click through and see, is this exactly what this source said? Because they might cite it and it might not actually be what was on that page. Or it might be something where the page is arguing against something like, oh, some people say that it's fair use, but we don't think it is. But it might actually take that quote, and give that as the answer, because it can't distinguish like reputable information from disreputable, jokes from seriousness, right?
Right. Satire.
And wants it wants to answer everything, even if it's something weird. So I don't know if this is going to happen now, but so my son was asking before about the different age groups, like Gen Z, whatever, Gen X, millennials. So I just ended up typing by accident, how old is Gen D? And it told me that, oh, well, actually, this one sounds better because, um, which, um, because before it gave me an answer saying that Gen D was born between 1659 and 1675, like during the Renaissance. So,
Well,
um,
I mean, if you were to step generations back, I mean, maybe, but
that's possible.
that seems
It's
like it's
not.
way too
It's
early.
also I think it's way too early. Also, no one has been labeling those generations, right?
Right.
Um, right. So anyway, it's you can't always come up with the best examples while you're doing it, but it's a problem. So if you don't like this, as I don't, what are your options? Well, you have a couple, but one of them is not to turn this off in settings. Google does not let you turn it off in settings. So what you can do is you have two choices. One, Google just added a new tab called Web. And you'll notice that web is what the internet used to be, search engines used to be, a collection of links. It doesn't have um, anything but web links. It doesn't have videos. It doesn't have discussions. It doesn't have people also ask. It doesn't have featured snippets. So, um, so if you like those other things and you don't like the AI overview, well, you're going to give them up to be on this web tab. Now, good news. You can get to this web tab without doing what I just did and clicking here. Let me show you. First of all, I have created a new plugin, which I'm going to share. It is called Bye Bye um, Bye Bye AI and Bye Bye Google AI, and you can install it on Chrome browser. You can install it on Edge. You can install it on Brave browser. So you can say I have a whopping 6 users because I just put this public. Uh, um, so if you go here and you install Bye Google AI, uh, you'll see that when you add the extension, it'll pop you up the intro page here, which gives you a set of options for what you can hide. You can hide AI overviews, but if you want to hide other things like discussions, sponsored links, ads, shopping blocks that people also ask, the videos, the featured snippets, you can hide all of them. So now if I go to uh, what was one that I just did? How old is Gen? Oh, well, that was here. Now if I go and I do how old is Gen D, it's going, you see, it erased all that stuff. I'm not on the web tab, right? Um,
Nice.
right? Um, you know, I I had one that I was using which was like pimples or like pimple popping. Did you see that a bunch of stuff just disappeared, right,
Yeah.
from the search? So so it what it does, and I can't say this is perfect, it actually, I think, it may actually end up erasing your tabs here. I have to check and see if there's a way to keep that. I put this together in like a few hours. Is what it does is it basically goes through the CSS of the page. It knows what the CSS for all of these things, these different units, looks like, and then it sets the display property of the CSS to none. So it's actually just hiding. It's not really preventing it from being generated. It's just hiding it, right? It's just being hidden. And
Makes
as soon
sense.
as Google changes their CSS, they'll break my extension. And if enough people are using it, I guess I'll go and I'll try to change the extension to keep up with them. But I can't say that this is a definite, um, definite win, right? Because they may find different ways to break it. What's amazing is they don't care and they allow it in their app store.
Mm-hmm.
So another feature of my plugin is that if you hit W and space, it will take in your address bar. It says Google Web Only, and then I can search for. Um, I can search from the address bar, and what it's going to do is it's going to take me straight to the web tab. So it's not going to need to filter anything out because it's taking me to the web tab. Because the secret to going to the web tab is in your query string here, is UDM equals 14. If the parameter UDM equals 14 is after the question mark in your Google search string, it's going to go straight to the web tab. And the web tab doesn't need anything filtered out because it just doesn't show AI and it doesn't show featured snippets and it does show ads though, but it doesn't show the other things. So you could do that. Now, what if you don't want to use my extension, but you do want to go straight to the Chrome web store? The Chrome web tab, the Google web tab. Well, I have a solution for that. So if you go into Chrome //extensions search engine, not extensions, I'm sorry, settings, search engines, which you can also get to just by going to settings, search engine, manage search engines. You can create your own custom search from the address bar. So the way you do that is you go here and you click add. You give it a name. The name is just for your benefit. I'll just call it Google without AI. The shortcut, not absolutely necessary, is a key that you can hit to do this search in your address bar. But we'll talk about why that may not be necessary. I'll just make it A. Some people put like @web here or something like that. Then the URL, you could put google.com, but you can put Google base URL in braces, and that will also make this work on different versions of Google, like Google Co UK. But it doesn't really matter. Google.com is probably fine if you're doing this from within the US. You put /search question mark for the parameters. What did we say our search was? It is UDM equals 14, UDM equal 14, and ampersand Q equals %s. %s is whatever you type as your query string. So now you can see under additional sites, Google without AI should be there. So what that means is if I go here and I type web, it's going to do that search for me, right? It's going to take me straight to the web tab. But what if I don't want to type any extra stuff? That's fine too, because what I can do is I can go here and I can click on the dots and select make default. Now this is going to be my default search engine. So now that it's my default search engine, whatever I type up here is going to add that UDM equals 14 to it. I don't need to hit a shortcut like @web or whatever I assigned it to, because it's the default search engine for the address bar. So so that solves the problem without a plugin, but then you're just using the web tab, which may or may not have everything that you want. So that's that's my spiel about how to deal with this. Unfortunately, on mobile, uh, there isn't such a great solution. On mobile, on Chrome for Android or iOS, you can set a custom search engine, but you can't type in the address that you want. So
Hmm.
if you go to a search engine, so if you go to a search engine, like if somebody created a search engine that was basically redirecting itself to the web tab, then that would be a solution. But you have to have visited an active search engine, search on it, and then it'll become available. Same thing with Safari, but and Edge for mobile. But if you use Firefox for as your mobile browser, they have a feature where if you go into the settings, you can add a custom search engine. You can type in what the URL for the search query is, and so you can do what I just did for your mobile browser. But unfortunately, if you're using not using Firefox and you're using one of the more popular mobile browsers, they have the ability to change your search engine, but it has to be a website that you've gone to. It can't just be going to the web tab. Like someone would have to create I suppose if somebody created a website called like googlewebtab.com, and then when you searched on it, it somehow redirected you, then that might do it, but it has to be like a dedicated search engine. So um, that's unfortunate, but and of course you can't use extensions in mobile browsers, so you can't install my extension for your mobile browser. But what do you think, Scott?
It's interesting. I love how. So I do this kind of thing too. I love to get into the inner workings of how something like how does the web tab work? Ah, it's in the query string. Got it. So if I do this, I can make it go. Uh, I love doing stuff like that, and I enjoy that you do as well. I also really like the alteration of the CSS approach to solving the
Yeah,
problem,
I'm not gonna
because I've done stuff
I'm
like
not
that
gonna
too, and
take the
I
total
think it's fun.
credit for. I mean, I didn't think that this was a feasible thing, and then I saw someone else had built an extension called Hide Google AI, and that people were recommending. And I looked at how they were doing it, and they were hiding the CSS. And so I said, I kind of would like to do this myself, but give people more options to hide things and to hide different parts of the page. And so I made my own extension that does it. But Google can break this at any time, and it can cause problems. I noticed just now, which I hadn't noticed in 2 days of using it, that it kind of makes your the tabs on the top, like all images or whatever, I think disappear. I'm gonna have to look into how not to make whether I can prevent that from happening. I don't know if that's a big problem, but I don't like it. So, um, I will. But it's kind of a blunt object, right? Like people want. I mean, I like a lot of the things, the widgets that Google does put on their search result page, like the top stories and sometimes the videos. So I, um, I don't mind seeing that stuff. Um, and actually, I'll be real honest. Since I have to, as a journalist and as someone who publishes on the web, I have to keep track of what Google is doing. So I'm not going to really. I have to admit, I'm not going to really use my own extension except to test it,
Hmm.
because I have to see what the experience that Google is giving most people, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
Um, so, uh, but if you don't publish a website that's dependent on search, then this you may find this approach helpful.
And if I'm not mistaken, Avram, I believe I saw that you have written about this as well.
Yes, I have an article about about this. It points to the plugin. It talks about how the manual way to do it, to just search the web tab, and it talks about your options on mobile, which are, you know, basically use Firefox. Or you could use a different, search engine. A lot of people suggested don't use Google at all, and I mean, I get it, although I don't. I mean, Bing has AI stuff, but you have to, I think, at least scroll up to get it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's
Not
not forcing
exactly.
it on you.
Stuff shows up at the
Not
top
exactly.
now.
Now they're forcing it on you.
Yeah, stuff shows up at the
Okay.
top now.
Okay. So um, I find that the quality of results on Bing is not quite as accurate as Google still. Um, and then there's other sites. I think there was one called startpage.com, which actually takes Google's results and serves them to you, but it's in Germany or something. So I found it's very, very slow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like it takes like several seconds to load. Uh, there's not, DuckDuckGo, I don't think is a panacea. I don't think Brave is a panacea. I'd like to start, I'd love to start my own search engine. Uh, but I was looking into it and it's not quite as easy as, well, who would think it would sound easy, but it's not quite so easy because I haven't really found an open source index that someone is maintaining, like where you could download a new
Mm,
index from them every day or something and run a
interesting.
search engine off of that. Uh, I mean, I haven't really seen anything like that. So to generate a good index, you need, lots of servers, you need a good algorithm to display it, all that stuff, and lots of server power. So I don't think I could do it on like $30 a month hosting. Uh, but Scott, if you want to do it, I think there's a market. I really do. I think there's a market for someone to come out with a search engine that is just search. Uh, in fact, I looked into buying this justsearch.com domain, but the company that owns it is, well, I think they want a lot of money for it. So, anyway, uh,
Yeah.
it's um, it's an interesting question. What you can do to, I don't know, what the industry is going to do, but I think someone could have a successful business or a very successful nonprofit like a Wikipedia style
Mm,
organization that did that did it. So that, because I think, like, look at what a success Wikipedia is. I know it's not always
yeah.
right, but more often than not, it is, and it's all volunteer, and the internet depends on it.
Yeah.
Like search is a utility like that.
Agreed.
The world needs a search engine that is just search. It is not, it is a utility that people want. Like, people, nobody asked Google to stop being a search engine and be a publisher. That's
Right.
Google's
Right.
decision because they think it's good for their business, right? It's not something that people have been, clamoring for. Like, oh,
Right.
I hate actually having to go to authoritative websites and find this information. Please just spoon feed it to me. I mean, people are going to accept those answers because it's right in their face, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of them, but it's not something that they're not doing it to be helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. True.
anyway, check out my
True.
article on tomshardware.com.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting idea. So, especially the Wikipedia style nonprofit. That's a fascinating concept. Um, see what you do to me. I sometimes sometimes this segment provides a lot of interesting information, and sometimes it provides a challenge. And tonight's has been a challenge issued in my direction. So while this episode is rendering
Yeah, I
tonight, I
mean,
know what I'm going to be doing.
yeah, I mean, It would be great if somebody would start one. It obviously would have to be a passion project for someone who to get
Yeah.
investment in it and things like that. But if you got such a thing up and running, I think people would. I think it would get a good response because, like, everybody's got. Unfortunately, I think you want like what would be really good for the internet would be if it were a real not-for-profit and it
Hmm.
didn't even take advertising. Like
Yeah.
it took donations or whatever, like Wikipedia does, it nagged you for money. But part of the problem is search is polluted right now. It's polluted by ads, it's polluted by non-search stuff, it's polluted by AI. It's
Yeah.
not search. Like there's a lot of people who probably just search, just give me my search. I want to search for something, see what's out there on the internet that has it, and that's it. Like I want to search. So while they're getting in your way.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna do a little high level research tonight. It's an interesting challenge, and I like interesting challenges. So I'm gonna mess around a little bit tonight. Uh, as always, Avram, I appreciate it. This was definitely an interesting thing. When Google I/O comes around, you and I tend to head in different directions. Obviously, for me, I tend to follow the Android side of things because that's what I do. I do programming for Android and things like that. So I tend to hear those things, and you tend to hear the web things, and that's why I love these conversations because I didn't totally miss this, but until you put your article out, I didn't quite understand what was happening, and I appreciate that you put it out and then did the extension, and I appreciate you bringing it to our attention here. And
Great. I look forward to talking about it more.
absolutely, and I look forward to what we talk about next time. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Piltch Point with Avram Piltch. If you did, please subscribe to our channel, and of course, hit the notification bell since subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. And if you've got topics you'd like us to discuss in the future, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you don't want to follow us on YouTube, that's okay. There's a lot of other ways that you can follow our content. You can find all of that by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all the different ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.